In this video, I'm gonna be showing you how to generate leads and what are the different ways of generating solar leads coming up. All right guys, thank you so much for tuning in once again to another solar video on the channel. On this one, like you saw in the title, we're gonna be talking about how to generate leads and how to navigate through the different ways you could implement to generate solar leads depending on where you're at, in your career. So I've listed out some things on the board here, obviously you could see. But I want to start off by saying that the first three ways, the first one is cold call, right? You could be cold calling to actually generate leads and appointments for yourself, right? You could do that by buying lists. So the first three are pretty much if you're starting out on the budget or you're brand new to the industry, you want to learn more about how to pitch and how to set appointments the right way. So cold calling, door to door, and buying a list, I would combine them, the three, you could start simultaneously, okay? Because for example, if you live in a hot state, it's not the best thing to do. Like if you live in Nevada or Arizona or any other state that gets really, really hot, like 100+ degrees in the summer, right? It's probably not favorable to go out there and get baked in the sun, right? So while you're supplementing your door knocking, what you can do is you could buy a list. You could buy a list and you can start cold calling. All right. And as you're cold calling, obviously that's going to generate you. That way you'll be able to generate appointments. All right. And depending on how good the data is, there's different providers out there. You can buy it for very, very cheap. Literally a couple of $100, and you'll be able to generate, tens of appointments at a time if you just go through it. And honestly, when you're starting out, it's good because it really teaches you, about the work ethic, all right? So I wanted to make this video pretty short and to the point, and that's why, I put these three in one: cold calling, door to door, and buying a list. Because I really do think that they can go hand in hand, especially when you're starting out. Now, the last four that I have is when you already have an established business, right? Or you have money to invest at least. That doesn't mean if you're starting out, you cannot do these four here. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and buying leads from different lead sources, right? Lead vendors. So you can do that, absolutely, but you definitely need at least a couple of grand to invest in leads. And obviously, if you don't go with the right partner, like us, wink, wink, you can actually waste that money, all right? So there is a risk. But like a good friend of mine always says, in business, you have to kiss a few frogs in order to find the prince. So, that's what it's like in our space with marketing agencies. Everyone says that they know what to do and they know how to generate qualified leads and they know how to put you in front of homeowners with 650 and above credit, yada, yada, right? Everyone says the same thing. You never get on a call and the person on the other end will tell you that, the lead's actually quite shitty, but you should still end up buying, right? No one's gonna say that. Everyone promises you the moon, the stars, in the world, and just to be disappointed, 20, 30 days later, right? On that note, you can go ahead and schedule a call down below. The link is gonna be in the description box, and feel free, it's gonna be either myself or one of my salespeople, one of my guys will actually direct you to, what exactly you need to do depending on where you're at in your career. And if you're looking to seriously grow your solar business, I highly recommend you take action and actually schedule a call. It's not gonna be a sales call, honestly. Like if I see, and I've trained my guys to do the same thing as well, like if we don't see a potential in working together, I'm very to the point and we'll never waste your time. I'll tell you right off the bat, look, it's probably not the right time, okay? Or you should go a different route, right? I highly believe in obviously providing value first. So one of the things you're not gonna see if you schedule a call is we're not gonna try to hot sell you on to our service, for example, which is amazing. All right, but back to it. So again, you could start with YouTube, you could start with Facebook. Actually, LinkedIn it's part of social media. Very few people run ads on LinkedIn because they're quite expensive, to be honest with you. And you could actually, taking into account the audience that hangs out on the platform, LinkedIn is one of those platforms that you can actually get, pretty high quality commercial leads if you're interested in commercial leads, right? So, but the ad space on LinkedIn is quite pricey, right? And so, but I would say, YouTube, Facebook, and different lead vendors, you can try it out if you have at least 2,000 to 3,000 to spend starting out, right? At least 2,000 to 3,000, right? I wouldn't, if you have 1,000 to spend, I wouldn't even recommend trying to do either of those three because you might end up, wasting that money. And the reason why is because you need at least, in my opinion, I've been in solar for over 3 years now. Trust me when I say this, you need at least 2,000 to 3,000 in order to have some room for testing. Otherwise, depending on the market that you're in, it could be very, very difficult to do something with $1,000, for example, or $500. The reason why I say this is because I've had people that have gotten on a call with myself or one of my guys, and they could, they honestly say that they don't have much. And in that way, honestly, at that point, I'll tell them straight up, look, man, it's probably not gonna be a good fit because you need that much money to actually start out if you were gonna do solar marketing, right? And that's not to discourage you, it's just get yourself to the point where you could set aside 2 to 3 grand and you could throw it away at marketing and not care about it, all right? Otherwise, in my opinion, don't even think about it, right? But you can get very, very high quality leads on YouTube, Facebook, specifically those two. Those are the two platforms that they're very heavily involved in. And at that point, you don't need to do cold call, you don't need to do door knocking, you don't need to buy cheap lists. You can literally get leads and appointments scheduled onto your calendar, right? And the moment you start seeing this, guys, so I'll tell you these two platforms alone can build your business to immense levels. But what you need to do is you need to make sure that you have, obviously, first of all, enough to invest, right? So, and the other, something else too is you need to make sure that if you have a team of people, you need to make sure that they train and they know how to set the appointments and follow up with the leads that come in. Be able to treat every single lead as an install, right? If you already implemented this, you know what I'm referring to. So, YouTube, and then lead vendors. With lead vendors, I'm not gonna throw rocks at companies out there like Home Advisors, clean energy experts and companies like that would offer you leads, okay? But what I would say is that if you're not looking to compete on price and if you wanna buy exclusivity, right, on these platforms and you choose to work with a lead vendor, you have to come to terms with the fact that if you're obviously buying leads from a lead vendor, they're most probably gonna be resold to multiple different companies. And at that point, it just becomes a massive race to the bottom on price. And there's always somebody in your area that's willing to do it cheaper, right? I'm not saying you shouldn't do it that way. That's just not the way I like to do business. And that's not the way I like my clients to do business. So if you're buying leads from a lead vendor source, that's probably what's gonna be happening, right? Which is not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. You just have to come to terms with the fact that that's what you're gonna see, right? Now, if you want exclusivity, you can absolutely have that, but it's pretty pricey. You could have leads at around 80, 100, 120, 150 bucks. And at that point, it's honestly just not, it's it's probably not going to be even worth it. Again, I do believe in testing out multiple different options. I don't think you should be, short-sighted or tunnel vision and just see one way of generating leads and appointments and growing your business. But if you are going to try this out, I just want you to have that in mind, right? So again, to recap what we've gone through is we have a few ways of generating solar leads on the board, and we're gonna go through them again. So the cold calling, door-to-door, and buying lists, this is if you're starting out, right? I know companies that are heavily reliant on cold calling and door knocking, and they're doing tremendously well. If that's the way you're currently doing it, and you're having massive success, and you don't want to change, by all means, keep doing that. But the guys who are just starting out, like guys, you can buy a list. You can buy a pretty insignificant and cheap list, okay, for dirt cheap. I mean, literally for a couple $100, and with thousands of names of homeowners, and you could actually sell them, right? You could, if you put in the work, you will be able to set appointments out of those. Now, so again, cold calling and door knocking, it's not the most favorable, but can you make money that way? Absolutely, right? Now, so those three I would honestly recommend if you don't know what to do, you just want to learn, you just want to learn how to sell solar, really. I would say just going through the motions and, just implementing those methods and just trying it out for yourself. If you have some money set aside, I would absolutely start here. Facebook, YouTube, or even LinkedIn as well, but I would just say, honestly, just stick with Facebook and YouTube. Those are pretty good platforms that you can get a very good bang for your buck. And then LinkedIn, obviously, if you're in commercial solar, if you want to get commercial leads, you can do that as well. Pretty pricey, advertising space on LinkedIn is a lot more expensive, for example, than YouTube and Facebook, but it still works, all right? And then you have the lead vendors. So the lead vendors, obviously, as I already said, if you're looking to enter a race to the bottom on price, you look to, undercut everyone in your area, and you're okay with that. And I know quite a bit of people that honestly wouldn't mind just cutting down their price to, undercutting everyone to make sure they sell more deals. Absolutely, I just want you to have that in mind. And again, if you want exclusivity with a lead vendor, then you're gonna have to pay an arm and a leg. All right, so I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a massive thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel by smashing the button down below. And once again, if a conversation comes up, just bring a friend over, man. Just share the video or tell a friend about this channel so we can grow together. All right, guys, appreciate you guys. Stay safe, sell more KWs, and I'll see you again on the next one.